Instagram is quickly becoming the ruling queen to Facebook's king of social networks. Hopefully, you're already implementing a new strategy for your business on Instagram in 2019, but I want to share with you 5 tips for how you should be using the platform this year to help build your business and have your best year ever on Instagram. So my first tip is that Instagram stories should always be your first priority. So you probably noticed in 2018 that in-feed engagement on posts is quickly decreasing and will only continue to do so this year. More active users are using Instagram stories, which means that they're less likely to scroll through the feed and to look at all of the posts and engage with everything that's there. So you're going to have fewer eyes and therefore fewer likes and comments on your posts. So if you're not posting over on Instagram stories, you're going to be left behind from other brands. Overall engagement isn't decreasing, however. So that means that you can use all of the features over in Instagram stories to get your customers to engage with you still. So use those sliding stickers, use those polls, use those question stickers, and anything else they might be coming out with this year to get people to engage with their brand, because the more that they take that step to click a button to answer one of your questions or one of your messages, the more likely they're going to be to actually buy from you or actually engage with your products or services. So focus on creating engagement Instagram stories this year and try to provide some value for your followers in your stories, not only in your feed. So that leads into my second tip, is that DMs are going to be the best judge of your story success. So thanks to replying and tagging and sharing features with Instagram stories, it's easier than ever to strike up private conversations with people on Instagram, and that includes businesses too. So if you don't have a story strategy in place that's going to lead people to your DMs, then I suggest you get together with your social media team or your advisors or whoever you need to and chat about how you can be creating stories that invite people to engage with and have conversations with you. So you might have noticed in your personal use of Instagram that the DM features have really upgraded, and people are actually using them as an alternative to Snapchat and Messenger and WhatsApp and other messaging platforms, which is pretty awesome for Instagram. So users are really leaning into that capability to use DMs, and they're not shying away from it when it comes to brands on Instagram. So just like when Twitter was king and people would tweet at a brand when something went wrong, people are now taking to Instagram to DM brands when they're having an issue, and you definitely want to address those, but they're also taking to Instagram when they have praises. So you want to make sure that you're sharing people's sentiments that come through in your DMs, and that will also help you track your success on social media a little bit. My third tip is to be using hashtags even more strategically. So I shouted this from the rooftops in 2018, but it's more important than ever for you to have a hashtag strategy in place. So you can't throw a few hashtags onto a post and expect to gain followers. You're not going to be able to passively get people to follow you just by having bland hashtags on your posts. You might get a few likes from it, but it's very unlikely that you're going to get the right kind of follower from just using hashtags. Instead, you have to use the hashtags and then engage with the same people who are also using those hashtags. So again, hashtags are a gateway to a community that you need to engage with, and that might mean you have to spend a little bit more time on the app, which is probably what Instagram wants from you. But it's really going to be extra important for you to do that outbound engagement with other users. My fourth tip is using micro-influencers to your brand's advantage. So it's a full-time job being a huge influencer over on Instagram, which I'm sure you've noticed, and it's something that folks are actually aspiring to become, especially younger kids who are on YouTube. So use this to your advantage by targeting accounts with small engaged followings who can become affiliates and ambassadors for your brand. So you definitely want to keep a budget or a section of your marketing budget available for larger influencer marketing campaigns, but also include some new nano influencers in the mix. So that's people with like 1,000 to 8,000, maybe even 10,000 followers who are going to be excited about your brand. So if they're excited enough about being a part of your brand, becoming an influencer, then they're more likely to promote it with their friends with very little from your end. So maybe you send them a free sample and they're willing to post about it, post their thoughts about your product or your service, or with just a small gift card. Whereas if you're targeting those larger influencers with hundreds of thousands of followers, they're also going to expect a pretty hefty check for their work. Because again, that's all they do is post about their lives and their thoughts, and their followers expect them to kind of be setting a higher bar. But if you target those nano influencers, they're gonna be a little bit more loose and willing to work with you, and you won't have to spend a ton of money to get your products out to new communities out there. So my last tip is to be your most authentic ever on Instagram. So with diminishing engagement and emphasis on posts, it's more important than ever to create content that cuts through all the rest of the noise. And if you're being authentic, you are going to do that. So if you think about social media bosses like Jenna Kutcher and Hillary Rushford, brands like Eat Sleep Wear, and celebrities like Chrissy Teigen, they've all built their brands and their names on what seems like total transparency and authenticity on social media. So they're taking real to the next level. They're showing what's happening behind the scenes, and they're really putting their personalities out there on the website. So that doesn't mean that you have to post sob stories about your life or the specific, if you're a larger brand, you don't have to be posting about the head of your company all the time. It just means that everybody wants to buy from a person and not just a mysterious brand out there. So if you don't have a personality on social media, if your brand isn't showing the people behind the scenes or taking some sort of stance, then you're going to kind of get lost with the rest of the noise. So I want to encourage you to explore what being authentic and having a bigger personality means for your company this year. So as always, follow us on social media. We're on Instagram at Digital Brand Envy. You can follow me at OB, that's OHHBEE. And I can't wait to see what you guys can do with Instagram this year.